and welcome back. And if this is your first time here, welcome in. So what we're going to do here today is we are going to work on a Galaxy tumbler. I did one of these a while back when I first started my channel, and I absolutely loved it then, and I loved the way that came out. But I actually found someone else. Well, I didn't find her. She's a friend of mine, very good friend of mine, Stacy Thomas Gillis, that is with Lily Bean Crafts by Stacy. And she has her own channel, and she did a Galaxy tumbler very similar to this. I'm using a little bit different products, doing things a tiny bit different than her, but I definitely want to give credit where credit is due, where she kind of came up with most of the, basically like the concept and kind of the way that this is done in the different steps. And so anyways, so I am going to talk about how I did this and what I used and what I did. So first things first, I spray painted the tumbler black, and then I took some white, flat white spray paint, and I just splattered it kind of in different areas on the tumbler, wherever you want, wherever you think, if you want to make a big spot, small little spots, you know, it's totally up to you. This is, you know, this is art. So so what I am doing here is I am gloving up. So I have this one glove that I use, and it is a golf glove. Anyways, so it's kind of my staple. And then I have just another glove that I put on. So what I am doing here is using this iridescent paint that I got from Arteza. And I've had it for a long time, and I've done all kinds of different things with it. But this was kind of one of the things that Stacy did, where she put some paint on the spots and then did some alcohol. And so I'm kind of doing things a little differently, but I'm very much taking direction from you know, the idea that she had, and the little things that she did to kind of intensify and really make this a very unique Galaxy tumbler. So as you can see there, I am taking this iridescent black that has this gold kind of tinge to it, and I am putting it all in the black areas. I'm not trying to make it perfect in the black. I'm just trying to kind of cover most of the black area, and then we'll go back in and add black where we need to after we do the, you know, nebula novas, whatever you want to call them, for the Galaxy. So I have these sponges that I got from the Dollar Tree that are just makeup sponges, and they're actually like the worst thing that you can use for makeup, and really for anything, because all they do is suck up a bunch of product. So, but anyways, what I'm doing is I'm putting down, I am using some of this like shimmery alcohol ink that I got. It's Tim Holtz, and I'm just kind of squirting it. I made sure I shook it up really well so that all that shimmer stuff's kind of throughout. And then I took the iridescent pink paint, the acrylic paint from Arteza that is in this box that you saw at the beginning, and I'm using that in a mixture of like dabbing it in the alcohol, dabbing it in the paint, dabbing it in the alcohol, dabbing it in the paint, just kind of wherever I feel like it needs a little bit more, or you know, this is just literally kind of just how you feel and what makes you think that this is going to be the perfect look. So I had an idea that I was going to do, you know, like pink and red, and then like purpley blue kind of, and then like a teal green yellow kind of, you know, I was kind of, okay, so I'm using the pink shimmer alcohol ink, and I'm using the red shimmer alcohol ink, and I'm also using that pink paint, and I'm just adding that in and kind of taking it out into the black and just doing a mixture. So I'm just building and building and building so that I have something that looks like something that would be in a Galaxy kind of thing. And then you saw there that I squirted something at the top there. That is a mixing agent thing. It's some kind of mixing stuff that I got at the Michael's or Hobby Lobby, one of the two. And it is just a basically it's just alcohol. I don't know if it maybe has something else in it, I'm not sure, but I got it. I've never really used it, but I thought this would be the perfect time to use it since I've got multiple different things going on here. And so I'm just squirting a little bit of it on the side, and then I'm just using that to kind of build out the look, you know, on the sides to mix it in with that black. I'm taking whatever I feel like needs to be taken at the time, which is like the ink or the paint or whatever it is, you know, that I feel like needs to be done, you know. That's, so it's just kind of building an art piece. So these are pieces of shirts that I have worn while I have been crafting and epoxying, and they got to the point where they were just like, you couldn't even hardly put them on because they were so full of epoxy and stuff. So I just ripped them up, and I'm using them for like to cover my table, or just to kind of, I can just use them as rags basically. So here I'm going in with this pink shimmer, purpley shimmer, the alcohol inks, and then I'm going in with the purple iridescent shimmery, you know, our acrylic paint. If I can talk, maybe I should take a break. Hold on. So we are using the pink and a little bit of blue and the purple iridescent acrylic paint from Arteza, and we are mixing this to make it a certain kind of purpley, bluish purple kind of color. And so I'm using the blending agent, I'm using the blue and the pink, and I'm making a purple, and then I'm taking it and I'm dabbing it into the iridescent paint, and I'm just blobbing it on. I don't know what a better way to say it, but it's, I mean, when you're dealing with something that's, you know, so natural in its form, I guess, you know, the universe, and so it just kind of like, you just kind of have to make it, put it on there until you feel like this is giving whatever it is that I want it to give, as far as looking like something that would be, you know, in a picture from NASA kind of thing. So at this point, I am just kind of dotting it around the black area on the, you know, outside. I'm just trying to kind of blend it through, and that's just, and I should have stopped right here because I messed up the look. I put some of the ink, I mean, some of the paint on there, and then it just kind of like, I guess it peeled it back. So then I started having a blob there, and I was very upset. So just know when to stop. So I think I was like, okay, just stop. Leave it alone. We're going to go on to the next one. So I moved on. And this one I'm doing some of the blue and some of the green so that I can make a teal look on this bottom one here. I'm also using some of the blue color of the acrylic paint that is, you know, in that same box of paints. And so I just, the same thing. I just dabbed and dabbed where I thought I needed to add, and add a little bit of paint. And I really feel like the whole deal with the shimmer paint and the shimmer, you know, of the alcohol inks, it really gave this like so much depth. I was very, very pleased with the look of these. It's a little bit different from what I did before, but I do feel like I think either one of them is going to give you a really beautiful, you know, look of a galaxy. And I mean, this is a hand painted piece of art. You know, this is really something that it can't be recreated. You know, you can kind of try to redo it and try to kind of make one again, but it's never ever going to look the same. And that's what I love about these types of tumblers. So I just kind of kept adding a little bit more and more, and it was kind of taking it off. So I was like, okay, let me think about what I got to do here, or maybe I should let this dry. But if you let the paint dry too much and then you added the alcohol, it kind of became a little bit pasty. So I would say that, like, once you have that look, I wouldn't really touch it too much more. And that was kind of what I was learning. But all in all, I mean, it was fine. It's just, I was just kind of learning little tricks here and there as I was, you know, handling both of these products and just kind of putting them on there together. It was doing its own thing. And I'm going to stop talking and show this one just because I want to show all the colors being done and what I did. And then we'll come back to our next step.
Like this. Like this. Like this. Like this.
So I started to learn that if you kind of let things kind of dry, I just left it alone, and then I went back and I added some more of that blue, and it really came out with that kind of bluish green teal color that I really wanted. And so I was kind of learning that you kind of have to give it a second to kind of dry up, and then you can get a little bit more of the look and the mix that you want. So this is where I'm going to add my black. Now I had some black, just black ink. I didn't have any like black shimmer or anything like that. And so this was where I was kind of, okay, I'm going to add a little bit of the black ink. I'm going to add a little bit of that black paint, and we're going to mix that in and really blend the galaxy, you know, spots in with that black part. And this was just, you know, as I went around and just kind of mixing, I did keep my color sponges there so that I could, you know, spot out some of the black if I needed to. I just kind of kept everything right there. So if I felt like, oh no, I got a little bit too much black in there, I had my color sponges where I could spray a little alcohol, or I could, you know, get the color. Hopefully there's a little bit some left in the sponge, that kind of thing. And then I just went around and, you know, filled in all of those black spots. And that's pretty much it. I mean, I just went around wherever I felt like it needed to be, put a little bit of black to mix in, and then I would take the other sponges and mix those in. You know, it just how you feel that it's coming along is the best way. So I let this dry for quite some time. I think it was probably a day or two, only because I wasn't doing epoxy, but I for sure would let this dry for over an hour or more if you are trying to do it within the same day. But I do not seal anything. I do not seal the alcohol. I don't seal the paint. I don't seal anything. I just go right in with a coat of epoxy as long as it's pretty dry and you feel like, you know, it's not going to move or do anything. But I never seal any of my alcohol ink. So just throwing it out there. I don't ever do that. So it's up to you if you want to do it. But I would say don't do it. But if you want to, go ahead. So now this is one of the other things that Stacy did on her video, where she put a coat of epoxy on there. And so this is the first coat that we put on there, right? And so now I'm going to go in with some of these Chase Ray glitters. So these glitters have a very like iridescent, chunky mix to it. And so I am taking ever so little bit amount. Like, I am really not trying to put too much of that glitter on there. So I just kind of just put as much just to kind of fill in the little area, and then that's it. And what I did was I'll put the different colors that I used, but it's basically this whole group of Hot Girl or the Lyric series, but they all kind of have the same, they're just different kind of cuts and things like that. But I just kind of used the one that I thought would bring out the best color to match the colors that were in the nebula or whatever. I don't know what you want to call it, but you know what I'm saying, the cloud or whatever it is, the galaxy part, or, you know. So I just kind of picked out the different ones that I thought, okay, this one I think reflects enough of the colors that are in there, and I think they'll be, you know, a perfect little match for it. So I just used the two different colors. I just sprinkled a tiny bit, as you saw. I just picked up a little bit of spoon, just so I just thought if I did that, it would kind of spread out all over the area. And I was like, okay, that's fine. And then I went in with some stars. I think this was something, I think these are just stars that I had, and I just put some stars like in the black area, just kind of let them fall wherever they may, and then I let that cure. So I let that cure, and then I went in with another coat of epoxy. And as you can see, there's a lot of like divots and little, you know, fish eyes and that kind of thing, and that's why we're putting another coat of epoxy on here. So we're going to try to fill in those areas where that glitter is, because if you don't seal your glitter, if you're just throwing glitter on top of something, the epoxy will definitely wick away, and that's what happens. So you put the glitter on there, and then you get all these little divots and things like that. But that's okay. We're gonna just like here, we're just gonna go in with another coat of epoxy. We're gonna go in with multiple coats of epoxy, so it does not matter. You're never going to see those divots. So we're gonna go back to the drawing board, if you will, and we're gonna do this all over again. And we're not gonna do it to the extent that we did it before, but what we're gonna do is we are covering up that glitter so that we have a three-dimensional look on this tumbler. So what we're doing is we're taking the shimmer alcohol ink and we are putting it over the spot that we've already done, that we already put epoxy on. I mean, that we already put glitter and then epoxy over it, and we're putting a little bit more of that alcohol ink on top of it, and we're just blending it out into that area. No big deal. All it's doing, it's not taking away from what we did. It is just only adding and adding more and more and more depth, so that you have this awesome looking, like 3D looking kind of nebula. And I went through these kind of fast because I didn't do much else other than just the alcohol ink, and just kind of allowed them to, you know, just put a little bit of pink, put a little bit of purple, whatever the colors were that I used in the beginning. I did not use any paint on this one because I wanted it to be much more see-through, much more of a cover, you know, of a, I don't know, not a covering, but you know what I'm saying, like just I just wanted it to just kind of like show through the bottom and, you know, the bottom to show through. And here I just zoomed in a little bit more so maybe you could see a little bit more what it was doing, which it wasn't really covering up that glitter. It was just kind of adding another layer, and it just really, really intensified this whole look. And I was like, that was the coolest thing. And the whole video that I watched with Stacy, I was just like, this is so cool. But I kind of wanted to do my own thing with the iridescence and the shimmer and do a little bit more of a you know, bigger look, but not to take anything away from what Stacy did, because it was absolutely gorgeous. I just didn't want to do the same exact thing, you know, so I kind of wanted to take it to my level of extra and do a little bit something more. So that was what I did here. So then after we added all of our color alcohol ink, I went in with the black alcohol ink. I did not go in with paint this time, just the alcohol ink. And I am just ever so slightly kind of covering up that black area and blending it into those other colorful spots. And what I'm trying to do is cover up a little bit of those stars and glitter that we put, that kind of landed outside of those colorful spots. And what that's going to do is kind of mute those in the background, so we have stuff in the background, and then we're going to put stuff in the foreground. So we're going to have some major depth in this Galaxy tumbler. And so that's kind of why we wanted to have the one on the bottom, glitter on the top, then come back with some more, put some black, put the glitter, put some black on the top, and really just have it just kind of looks, it's just so cool. It just turned out so cool, and definitely highly recommend doing it this way. And since I've been kind of hands all over this thing, I just kind of wanted to show a little bit about kind of how it looks at this point before we go in with our next coat of epoxy. So this coat of epoxy is a little more of where we're getting into our finishing coats, but we are going to add a little bit of glitter to this one because we want to add just a little bit more in the foreground, right? I mean, you know, like in the forefront, we want to add a little more of those kind of starry looks, and just kind of give that same feel, because we covered up those those glitters in the black with more black. So now we're going to go in with some more glitter. So normally I wouldn't necessarily stop the turner to put glitter on there, but in this sense I really wanted to aim it in a certain area, so I wanted to kind of make sure that it mostly got into the black. Now of course it's going to go wherever it wants to go, but I just kind of wanted to kind of ensure that it was going in those particular areas, so we didn't have too much occupying it, you know, the space in those color blobs that we have. So but as you can see here, you can really see some of that work, and it's just absolutely gorgeous. I was just very blown away by the, you know, the depth and the feel of this tumbler. So it took me quite some time to find the font that I used the very first time that I did this tumbler. So what I was doing was I was measuring around, because this particular font is, it has these huge, you know, extra little swoops that come off of each side. Now, I'll definitely link the font, but I think you have to get it from a particular company. But anyways, I will link it, and it will be available if you want it. Just not sure how exactly you get it, but it's one of those fonts that you can treasure forever. And what I did the very first time I made this tumbler was I wrapped it all the way around. So I made it like her name was written in the stars. And so I wanted to do the same thing. It took me a while to find the font. Again, I thought I had it right there in my mind, but I did not. But I do know what it is now, so I won't forget. But I just, you know, did all of my sanding and everything, so I wasn't putting like a million coats of epoxy on here. So I did all my sanding before I went in and put this decal and wrapped it all the way around. So I wanted to wrap it all the way around, but it was like 13 and a half. So I just made it as big as I could according to Cricut, so that I could get it to wrap all the way around. And after you do all that sanding, I would definitely take it and go give it a good wash in the sink with some Dawn dish soap, some kind of dish soap, and really clean that up. So I wasn't too worried about it being exactly straight because we had a lot of swoops and, you know, loops and that kind of thing. So I just kind of made sure the front looked decent there, and then I just wrapped it all the way around. And that's the one thing that really made this tumbler so cool the first time I did it, was just having that whole name just wrapped around the whole tumbler, and the look. And I also used a holographic, like 3D kind of holographic look, vinyl, so that you still had all that sparkle and that look, you know, of the stars and that kind of thing in the vinyl as well. So just carrying the theme throughout. Of course, going in with some Mod Podge to seal up that vinyl there, and then also to seal up my logo that I put on the bottom. And so I just kind of did, I didn't do it all over, but I just blended it out from the name and then just kind of down. And then I did the bottom there and just covered that a little bit with Mod Podge so that we can get a good seal on this. And then now we're going to go into our final coats. This is one of my favorite things. As you can see right here, it looks so dull and kind of blah. But then you take that epoxy and you put it on top, and it is like a whole another world, you know? It's just so gorgeous. Epoxy is just so cool to work with. It just transforms things, makes them so shiny and beautiful. And anyway, so what I did was I put this coat of epoxy on there, and then I definitely needed to put one more coat. So I went in, sanded the rim again, sanded the bottom, sanded all around, made sure that I had a really nice, smooth surface. And I did this with Flint Sisters epoxy, and I went in with the final coat, and then we were all done. And there she is, so beautiful. I love it. There's so much depth to this design. Thank you, Stacy, very much for opening my mind to a whole different way of doing the Galaxy tumblers. This is absolutely gorgeous. I am so pleased with it. It is a one-of-a-kind work of art, piece of art that Shannon will have forever. And I think it's way better than the first one I did. And I thought the first one was amazing. So anyways, I'm very pleased. Very pleased. So please like and subscribe and comment down below and let me know what you think and which one you like better, if there is a chance that you like the other one better. But anyways, like and follow, and I'll see you next time.